Welcome all of my corporate professionals. So in this video, we're going to be talking about how to handle being ignored by a recruiter. Whew, ciao. Now, we all know that feeling of going for an interview, maybe even getting to, first, second, sometimes even third stage of the interview. And it seems like it's going well, you've put all of your hopes in this particular job, and then nothing, just crickets. And you're just waiting and waiting and waiting. And the more that you wait, the more anxious you're getting. And there's just nothing from either the recruiter or the employer. And sometimes it gets to the point where you've even psyched yourself that even if it's a bad outcome, it's fine. But it's the not knowing. That's the problem. It's the not knowing. So, how do you handle this type of situation? Well, first of all, you have to change your perception. So what I mean by this is a lot of the time when we don't hear back from our employer or the recruiter, we automatically assume that we didn't do well at the interview and that we were unsuccessful. That might not be the case. A lot of the times there are other reasons that are preventing the recruiter from getting back to you. So I'm going to get into the reasons now. So the first reason is sometimes they can just be really busy. So they might just have a whole lot of other candidates that they're still going through. Maybe they underestimated the time that they will finish all of the interviews. And so maybe that's why they haven't got back to you. So that's the first reason. A second reason could be business priorities. Maybe there's been some important business priorities that's been happening at the company and they've had to put the hiring on hold for a while. So maybe they've had to go through a hiring freeze for that reason why they're handling business priorities. And that might be the other reason why they don't get back to you. The third reason is, when you are not their first choice. That means that you're a very strong contender, but maybe they have someone that they want to employ. But if that person doesn't work out or they don't accept the job, then they will circle back to you. And the last reason is, yes, the one that we've all been dreading, you weren't successful. And if that's the case and you weren't successful and they just didn't get back to you just because you weren't successful, then that's really bad on the recruiter's side, because everyone should get contacted even if they've been unsuccessful. But yes, there's some recruiters out there that do not get back to you when you're unsuccessful, but try not to take it personally. Before I go any further, if you're someone that's job searching right now and facing constant job rejection, then I have the thing for you. Now, for many people, they think the reason why they're getting rejected from a job is because they just don't have the right skill set or the right experience, but that's not the reason. If you didn't have that, you wouldn't have been invited to the interview in the first place. The reason why you're not getting it is the lack of confidence a lot of the time. So you can have all the right experience and all the right qualifications, but if you don't have the confidence to pull it off at the interview, you will not get the job. So I have the interview confidence webinar that is helping many people land the jobs that they want, and it can help you land your dream job as well. I'll leave the link below. Okay, so now we've gone through some of the reasons of being ignored by recruiters. Let's now talk about how to handle it. One way to avoid being ignored by recruiters is knowing when you can hear back from them. So this usually happens when you're at the job interview. When it gets to the point where they ask you, do you have any questions? One of your questions should be, when can I expect to hear back from you? Now, when you ask this question, this is going to help out your life, because now you're not going to have to be waiting and wondering when is the right time to get back to them. What if you're too pushy, things of that nature. So at least then the interviewer gives you a time frame of when he will reach out. And usually when they give you a time frame, that will encourage them to contact you within that time frame. But if they don't, I would say leave maybe 1 to 2 days after they haven't got back to you after that time frame and contact them back. That way you don't sound pushy because it was past the deadline and you're just reaching out. So that's one way. If they don't respond after that follow-up email, I would advise only sending one other follow-up email after that. And I'd probably spread it out a bit. So what I mean is, if you sent the previous follow-up email to the recruiter, and let's say you have the employer's email address, send the next follow-up to the employer. That way it doesn't look like you're chasing too much. And if you don't hear back from them after the second follow-up email, just let it go. Just let it go, because if you start emailing too often, you start to come across as desperate and annoying, and that's the last thing you want to be perceived as for a job. Now, this leads me on to the second point. Now, the way to avoid the anxiety of waiting and ending up sending too many follow-up emails is to keep on job searching. A mistake that a lot of job seekers fall in is when they really like a job and they feel like the interview went really well and everything, they stop job searching and they put all of their focus on this one job. And so when you're not hearing back, your anxiety is just getting more and more and more. And let's say you weren't successful, the rejection is so much more intense when you put all of your effort and your eggs in one basket. So never do that. Always keep searching. And sometimes what you realize is when you keep job searching, you might be getting more job interviews with other places. Sometimes you don't even realize that they haven't got back to you. And, the intensity of being rejected is not bad at all. Now, this leads me on to my next point, because you might find that when you're job searching elsewhere, you might be getting to the last stage of interviews with those companies. But if you still really like the position of the company that you haven't heard back from, what you could do is you can send a follow-up email stating that you're getting to the last stages of a potential job offer, and you really want to know the feedback of how that interview went with them. This way, by sending that email, it makes them realize that you are desired by other employers, and they will see you as more desirable. So that helps you for one of two reasons. First of all, it will make you get a quicker response, and secondly, it will make you look as a top candidate for those employers, because if other candidates want you, that means you have something that they need as well, and they would likely want to take you on. So it's a win-win situation. So that's another way you can go about it. So that brings me to the end of how to handle being ignored by recruiters. If you are going through any of these experiences, let me know below, and also let me know how you're going to handle it. Also, if you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe to my channel for everything job related, and also how to pass interviews to get the job that you want. I'll see you in the next video. Take care.